It's 8 o'clock and we're at the intersection, somewhat of a continuation from last week. Show's going to be here with us this morning. Show is with DreamWeek. And I see that Dwayne has come again this week, so that's good. One of the things I've been finding out this week in different meetings and talking to folks about January, the Martin Luther King Commission, Dream Week. There are people who know about all of that and have a hard time determining what's what, and I don't think it's meant to be like, separate at all. It's all part of the wonder of that time. And then there are some people who don't know about one part, like Dream Week. I've never heard of Dream Week. So Show's hopefully going to be with us this morning. He last week I was really kind of concerned about him because he wasn't with us and he had an emergency run to Austin. So while we're waiting for Show, are there any announcements for today in these first couple minutes to give more people time to sign in? And I do know that some of our folks this morning are going to be leaving pretty prompt at 8:30. There's a tour out of this group, but the tour is at the Battered Women's Shelter this morning at 9. So I know some people are going to be leaving for that, like right at 8:30. We got quite a few people to show up for that, sign up for that, and so that's exciting. I also sent out an opportunity for tomorrow. The editor of the faith section of the Express News invited whoever from the faith community to come and hear about how you can put in an op-ed or get information in. But she also wants to hear from the faith community, whether what's in the faith section is working, what more we'd like to see in it. So a conversation at 8:30. If you haven't signed up for that, there's still time. We just kind of need a count. So if you want to email me that you want to go, and it's tomorrow morning at 8:30 at the Light Building. So it's at their new offices. If for no other reason, you should be coming just to be nosy about this amazing building that's been restored. And if you want to stay long enough, I'll take you down to see my daughter who's on the first floor, the architect behind some of that building. So any other announcements? I'm trying to think in my head what else is coming up. I can't think of anything else. That sounds so strange. One thing I do want to invite you to think about. I'm thinking we've been through a series of all the collaboratives that are operating through the initiative and Compassionate San Antonio. I'm now thinking about kind of the flip side. So if there are congregations in particular who are involved in the kind of work of the collaboratives, I'm thinking about doing a series of like 2 to 3 congregations at an intersection who are talking about, say, their engagement with domestic violence prevention and how they do that in their congregation. Mental health and wellness, bridges to care, 2 to 3 congregations and how they're engaging that. So we can see that part of the equation. So be thinking about that in their show. Be thinking. And I don't think I'm gonna, if we're gonna do that with congregations, I don't think I'm going to schedule them in any particular order. When we did the collaboratives, we did the longest running ones first and the newest ones last to give them the most time, to kind of gel. But I think if we do the congregations, you say you're ready for next week and that that you could get 2 to 3 people from different congregations to talk from their perspective, just let me know and we'll schedule that. And I think that's how we do it. Good morning, Show.
Good morning, Ann.
Good to see you.
Good to see you as well.
we're excited to hear from you. And I did tell folks this morning and last week, I was concerned about you, man. I just was. A long time ago, I got past that thing. I don't know, it was a cultural thing. It was like, where is that person? You know, to the other thing of, I hope they're okay. And it's that, I think that compassion movement of being thought of, to think of others the way you wish to be thought of, right? And so I was concerned, and I know that you had to go out to Austin rather quickly. Yes. And you just, I want to come. Okay. And so you're here. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're okay. And it's really great to meet you at the intersection. And I think, Sho, this is the first time you've been to the intersection. It began right after COVID. The mayor convened it for faith, community, and civic leaders to come together and share, to learn more, to work more together. And we've been running it ever since, every Thursday, except on Thanksgiving. But we're right around the corner, so we're about to have the one Thursday off a year on Thanksgiving. But and a lot of really amazing things have happened out of the intersection. So, Sho, first of all, we're here to talk about the importance of story and kind of what you see as the depth and kind of the movement of Dream Week. But before we go there, I found out there are a couple people who would like to know more about Dream Week. Could you sum up what is the purpose of Dream Week? You know, like, why did you dream this up a dozen years ago?
Good morning. Thank you again for having me back. And I truly apologize for not being here last week, but I'm excited, and I love what you're doing. I think this is exactly why this would be an actual Dream Week event if I had the opportunity. Dream Week is about creating an environment for civil and civic engagement. So we were inspired by the civil rights movement and the leaders, and the fact that they felt, or we consider that they felt, the truest voices in an environment will always triumph. And so they were bold enough to be willing to sit down across a table or across a desk and hash out what the issues were. And they felt that their argument, will bring about a more, a more peaceful conclusion. And so it didn't. It's very, very important to state that it's not a foolproof system, but it's one that would bring about the most peace in an environment. So Dream Week started 12 years ago, and initially we were also inspired by the MLK March here, which was growing then and has grown to be the largest in the nation. And we felt we had an opportunity here. Something magical was happening in San Antonio, and it would be a wonderful opportunity to extend the purpose of the march, which was basically a rallying, unifying march in the same direction, symbolically. If we could extend that to outside of the Monday itself, and see what it would bring about. And it turned out that we basically had the opportunity to go about and just excuse me, I'm sorry, I just got sidetracked here, but I hope you can still see me.
We can.
Yes, okay. So we went about, and the opportunity to be sidetracked, to extend the march, or extend the purpose of the march outside of the actual walk itself. And we reached out to several organizations and individuals in our first year to ask if what they would do individually to present how they felt or how they managed the ideas of diversity, tolerance, and equality. And no one said no the first year. And we had 34 events, I believe. So we're kind of averaging over 200 every Dream Week, and Dream Week has extended into a 2-week period that straddles the MLK March. And we've had thousands of events, of course, and we've also engaged hundreds of community partners, individuals, organizations alike. And we're expecting probably close to 200 events again this January. We didn't shop for COVID. We went virtual mostly in the last 2 years. So I think this is another opportunity, and that's another thing that I believe Dream Week does well, is reintroduce the city to itself.
There's a lot about it too that sounds like the intersection, that civic engagement, kind of the creative messiness about it. Like,
yes,
it's not contained or controlled, but the community comes up with these things to do, these panels, musical presentations, art, whatever it could be. Yes. And so those 200 plus events, you're not in charge of them. It's like pulling it to, like letting people know that these are happening, and for the community to see itself at work and its full kind of potential. It's a beautiful thing. I know that each year too, Sho, you kind of theme the year. And I know that you do that by listening, kind of deeply listening to growth in the community. So what's the theme this year and why?
Well, okay, so thank you again for stating that the introduction to itself. I think we also we boast about it, but it's actually the largest community curated event of its kind in the nation. And it makes it very, very difficult to actually take this concept and transplant it to some other city, because there's something unique about San Antonio that allows that. So the events are held in the museums, schools, and bars, classrooms all over the city, but mostly concentrated in a downtown and near downtown area. Next year's theme is identity and representation. Identity and representation. We're very fortunate being part of DreamVoice, the presenters of Dream Week, to listen to a lot of people every year. And in my estimate, I believe that we're going to a period where we have to start to focus a lot on what does words mean, what identity means, the fact that every individual has an identity, and everyone is born into some form of identity, and you grow up to assume certain other aspects of it. But we believe that we're entering a period where we have to start to really focus on the language we use to describe ourselves or nature. And so we believe that we have to be more discriminating to be actually less discriminating, if that makes any sense. We have to understand that the labels, whether it's Black or African-American, Hispanic, white, are really grossly insufficient to describe what an individual is. And we have to focus on, and we have to kind of, I don't want to use the word, but maybe deconstruct this, what does words really mean. and understand that individuals are so complex. And you talk about intersection, an individual might carry a ton of those, and describing them as a 6'5" African American who lives in San Antonio is just not anywhere sufficient. And the representation part of it is how we can make sure that that voice is heard in the public arena. How one is, before you meet me, for example, what an individual like me represents in your world, without actually meeting me, just driving past me on the street, or getting to see me across a room or something. What would you consider? What is that abbreviation that you imagine I am, and as opposed to what I am when I introduce myself and have the opportunity to actually, present what my worldview is like.
I think that's also one of the things that would probably be hard to, when you say, in terms of like replicating Dream Week somewhere else, that the purpose underneath what Dream Week is doing, what the MLK Commission is doing, these are not just events. It's going deeper. There's reason for this that is much deeper in terms of community healing and growth and wellness. And that it's not just those 2 weeks, right there is a good example. Dream Week's definition of a week is more than 7 days. But so I love how you have given yourself as an example, which applies to all of us, right? We all have like labels, what do we perceive of each other? And again, if we're looking at that ethic of reciprocity, to see others the way we wish to be seen, right? To hear and listen as we wish to be heard, right? So Dream Week are these like 2 weeks-ish. But what's your dream for Dream Week through those 365 days of the year, specifically in terms of San Antonio? What are you dreaming? And how do we get there with this identity and representation in particular?
Yeah, I would love to see Dream Week in my lifetime. It may not obviously be, but I'd love to see Dream Week be this summit at the very onset of the year, early in the year, where people spend who maybe they have on either side of conflict issue, basically boast and say that I'll see you at Dream Week then, and make that determination to come and state and argue and debate their positions in a manner that would allow for a lot more sophistication about the arguments the following year. So whether it's an issue of abortion or issue of immigration, we can't keep going back and taking positions and lobbing stones at the other party. We have to be able to advance these arguments and get to a place where there's some sort of we reach a point where we're getting much closer in what we're even arguing about, and we're not all over the page. So that would be a dream. I think that San Antonio can be this destination, an annual, almost a pilgrimage for people to extend and present ideas. I think that one of the ways we describe Dream Week as well, it's kind of displaying the community genius. I think genius exists in everyone, and I think a community genius as well exists overall. San Antonio has that in the fact that it can actually present Dream Week, and I think that's a form of genius within the community. And I would love to see how we can allow a young girl, 13-year-old from the South Side, share ideas that would really inspire us all or change the way we view the world, and not necessarily get to a point where there's some traumatic event, as in the case of Malala, a Pakistani young lady now, that individuals like that exist. No one knew who MLK was when he was 13, but the genius itself, his abilities were obviously evident to people around him. We want to create this environment where the least likely of us is given an opportunity to present ideas that would really change all our lives. And we just don't know where we'll find it. And I think that's what I really would like DreamWeek to be, this search for things that heal us and make us better as individuals and as a community, actually.
It makes me think about the intersection. It makes me think about Desmond Tutu and Nelson Mandela. Desmond Tutu, a faith leader, intersecting with Nelson Mandela, a civic leader, working together in that healing process, not an easy one, a messy one, right?
Yes.
But intersecting and working together in terms of truth and reconciliation. And at the core of that is identity, right? And representation.
Yes.
There was the storytelling that was a part of that Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That was I think it was the part that made it possible, where victims told their stories, they told their stories. They had to hear the stories, right? What would that look like, Sho, for us in San Antonio? What are the stories that we need to get at the heart of to be the strongest San Antonio we can be? Are you able to name one or two? What are the stories? How would we do that?
We joke around at the DreamVoice office often that heaven. They tease me that my heaven will be to listen to everyone's story from birth, right? And I think the more we learn about other people, the more we listen to other people and learn about their stories. And it's kind of a difficult, it's a challenging thing to do, because you have to kind of dismiss any judgments you have of what they're saying. And sometimes that's very difficult. But if we want to listen to it, we would find we have to search for that common humanity. And I think that the reason why books are never going to go anywhere is that, one could read a passage that, just resonates. And the author is lived 300 years ago. And so there's that connection and I guess intersection that we as humans, that make us humans. What makes us human is really the intersection and all the things that we share in common. And so the kind of stories that I would like to see for DreamWeek is the story of, say, and I'm just making this up.
We're all just making it up, Sho.
So the chief of police, for example, the tendency would be to have him up there, have maybe some African-American activists across, and talk about police brutality or, black on black crime or something like that, something really based, ultimately. What I would like to hear is who he is as a human being, what he does outside of his job, the connections he has within the community that are not necessarily of an official capacity. Who is this individual? Who is this man? Because the police chief would always change, but that person there is someone that I would imagine is pretty set in a lot of his ways, and he has certain characteristics that may be that many police chiefs may have, but ultimately, who is that individual independent of that label and that job? I would like to hear. I was surprised to hear the story of a young African American kid. Must have been 5-6 years ago, but the gist of it was that it's very difficult. For example, we talk about, say, the McNay and the Whitty, and these museums typically have a free day where they even offer bus passes and the like to individuals from all around San Antonio. And but to imagine 5 African American boys walking around Alamo Heights or Terrell Hills or some South Town, he said that within 15, 20, 30 minutes that a squad car will go past and probably accost them and ask them what they're doing there or what they were. So there's a force field that happens that we may not be aware of, who feel free to access any part of the city at any time. So the kind of stories I want to hear are not just stories about their own direct experiences, but things that stop them from even experiencing other things. You'd be ashamed to find young kids in San Antonio who haven't been to the Riverwalk or haven't been to SeaWorld or Six Flags, but just hear about this and read about this. These things as well, the lack of experience as well is key as well, not just stories about what one has witnessed. So hopefully DreamWeek is also an excuse, an opportunity for such young kids not to have an excuse to be at, say, the Whitty or have to be at the Blue Star, and they have this opportunity again to just really discover their own city, the city they've lived in for a while, and given that ability to venture. And it could be venture physically also and venture intellectually as well.
Okay, at 8:29, one show, could you stay maybe till 8:45? Do you have a little more time? If you don't, sure. That's okay.
No, I'm good. I'm fine.
You're good. Okay.
Yes, I really thank you for this opportunity.
Well, I want to put us to work. So I'm going to throw out an idea and you think about it, and then we're going to take just a little pause. But I'm looking at the calendar in January. And the 13th, which is the beginning of Dream Week, and that's also MLK weekend. The march is on the 16th, right? So there are 4 Thursdays in January. And in fact, I would even include the first Thursday in February, because the last of Dream Week efforts are the weekend before. So, kind of like the full picture, January 5th, all those Thursdays to February 2nd. What if on each of the intersections, we had 2 people, the police chief and so-and-so and so-and-so and, so that's 5 Thursdays. And somebody in chat said they loved your phrase of introducing the city to itself, right? So who would be those 10 people that we would invite in pairs, and that we would ask them at the intersection to say, you know, who am I? You know, when you said, who is this man of the police chief, to find out who these 10 people are underneath, beyond, right? The labels and what we see. So let's all think about that for a second. I'm going to take a pause. It's 8:31. And we make a commitment at the intersection of respecting people's time. So we try to get the most out of our 8 to 8:30 so that people can get on with other meetings. And I know some people are headed to the battered women's shelter today at 9 for a tour there. So thank you all for being here this week. If you need to go, we totally understand that, but we're going to keep on asking questions and creating and being the community that we need to be, that we want to see, that we dream. And we're going to, you know, anybody wants to start asking questions. I know that Beverly did have her hand up, but she dropped it. So I guess maybe Sho answered her question along the way. I don't know, but
Thank you. Thank you so much.
So,
I do. My hand's
Thank
up.
you all
My
for-
hand's
oh,
up.
her hand is still up. So we're going to go back to the conversation. And I also want to hear from Dwayne. I know if he's still
Yes.
here, what he's heard in all of this too. So Beverly, your hand's up.
All right. So good morning to everyone, and especially to Sho. How are you, my friend?
Good
It is,
morning, Beverly. Here's a big time supporter of DreamWeek. Thank you so much, Beverly, for all you've done through the years. Thank you so much.
I just have to just say, Sho, you're such a good example of someone who has got into good trouble. I know in trying to get all of this done, you all have no idea about Sho's journey, and I'm just so thankful that you have been persevering through this. And I'm so pleased. It is ironic, and I have to just say, go and go, because unbeknownst to you, you have actually brought together, you've brought to light just some of the things that we as a whole community must talk about. And the fact that you have both Dwayne Robinson, who is head of the Martin Luther King Commission and an incredible visionary, who really understands the meaning behind what Dr. Martin Luther King was talking about, was truly about all of us, not just some of us, but it was about all of us. And the fact that we have Sho on to be able to see the symbiosis between DreamWeek and the Martin Luther King Commission is just a dream come true. And I want to just congratulate both Sho and Dwayne right now for doing, yes, you got my fist pump. Thank you. Yes, but to what they are doing is going to actually help change the hearts and minds of San Antonio for the rest of our natural life. And just thank you so very much, you guys, for doing the hard work to bring people together and to make us all a better people because of your work. Thank you guys so very, very much. It's an honor to know both of you all, and to just see you guys are young. You didn't have to be 80 or 70 to kind of get it, that you guys both got it when you were very young, and you stepped up and helped change your community. And for that, change the state and change America and change the world. So thank you, you guys.
Thank you, Beverly. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Wow. I guess
Go ahead.
for me, there's no way I can can touch any of that, changing the world and all of that stuff. Only Beverly would put that on a show. But thank you, Ann, and thank you for just everything that you shared this morning. Sho, I continue to pray for you and everything that you're doing at DreamWeek. It's some amazing work, and I promise you before all of these people that I will commit to try to get even more involved. But I guess if I were just to touch on one thing real quickly, and it would be when you were making the comparison to Mandela and Desmond Tutu, when you talked about how they intersected and stuff. And you know, I read a couple of the books on the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, and the only piece I would touch on is because we're talking about storytelling, and you mentioned that at the very essence of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was the piece where you had to come forward and you had to tell the story of the atrocities that you may have done or participated in. And I remember reading the book and being one of them and being reminded that Tutu was a faith leader. He was a person of faith. And he was saying that when he was hearing some of those stories, he was thinking, how could a human being do something like that to another human being? And he had to lean on his faith. He had to understand that God is capable of healing and changing any individual. So I just would leave it right there. Again, thank you for show for coming out and telling your story about Dream Week, and count me in every Thursday at the intersection.
Thank you. And Dwayne, again, love your leadership, and looking forward to the wonderful things that you're going to accomplish this next year coming up. But it's not easy to be part of and actually lead what is established as one of the largest marches in the nation. And there are very many moving parts. And but I also want to state that without the march itself, Dream Week would not exist. Without the MLK Commission, there will be no DreamVoice. And we are committed to promoting every single event that the MLK Commission brings besides the march. You know, we have all these other events as well that are very important to attend. So I particularly think that the interfaith worship is a classic example of what a Dream Week event could be. So I applaud you, and looking forward to working with you as well, Dwayne, and getting something magical happening here in San Antonio.
Well, again, thank you for that show. And if I slipped in and wanted to tell you all a secret, it's just a secret between myself and you all. I reached out to the young lady that puts together our interfaith service, Judith Blackritz. And I said, Judith, have you picked someone to be your speaker at the interfaith service? And so we had a little bit of back and forth. And I said, if you have not, let me know. And she said she hadn't. And I said, I wanted to be the speaker. And that is really not me at all. But God put me in this position for a reason as chair of the commission. And I'm just going to do what I believe he's instructing me to do. And the reason why I mentioned that to her at the interfaith service, and I'll leave you all on this, when Martin Luther King Jr. wrote the letter from the Birmingham, Alabama jail, that letter was addressed to a specific group. And I don't know if this group knows it or remembers it, but I'll go ahead and answer that. And the specific group that he wrote it to was the clergy, because King was getting a lot of pushback for coming into that community and doing what he was doing from the clergy. And then remember that we say that the most segregated hour in the country, probably in the world, the most segregated hour is Sunday church hour. And I just really feel like something needs to be said to address, in my opinion, what is happening in the faith community with respect to its voice. And so we're going to go ahead and probably, she said, well, you got 5 minutes as the chair of the commission to come speak. So I'm not going to be the keynote speaker, but I am going to make some comments in that in that setting. And I probably, if there's one thing that I will step out and do a little bit more of, is I'm going to try to speak to that specific issue.
Mhm. So Dwayne, the interfaith service is always the Sunday before the march. So that would be the 15th this year. And it's always memory like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And do we know where it's going to be this year? So people could go ahead and mark their calendar. Do we know?
Yes, I can pull that up for you. Y'all can go ahead and keep discussing.
So DreamWeek is Friday 13th to the 29th of January. And we're always seeking and looking for volunteers, and they could actually start assisting us right now. And we also, are always seeking funding. It's a labor of love mostly, but we need some funds to market, promote, and make sure that some of the organizations that have financial challenges in putting up the events are supported. So, Dwayne, you ready?
Yes, I'm putting
the marketing man put in his words, so that's good. Dwayne, where's it going to be?
I'm putting it in the chat as well, but
Right, okay.
Ironically, it's going to be on King's birthday. So it will be on January the 15th at 4:30 p.m. at St. Gerard Catholic Church.
Nice.
Excellent.
Nice. And if you've not been before, it's an extraordinary event. So I encourage you all to go. Any last thoughts, comments, questions? It's 8:42. And I really want to respect people's times. And I have to get to the shelter. I'm going to be a little late, but thank you all for being with us this morning at the intersection. And I'm going to be submitting a new event for Dream Week. So I know it's past the deadline, but I'm doing it anyway. And so we're going to do 5 Thursday mornings, and just hold on to your seats because it's going to be good. So
Awesome.
Thank you all for all the work you do, for your commitment to our home and our city.
Yes.
To our future, to our children. Thank you. Have great weekends. Yes,
and
Joe?
please, you can share our contact,
Sure.
Nakpodia, and it's dreamweek.org. But the number is, and I put it in the chat, but it's 210-444-2315. It's 210-444-2315. Every individual in this intersection is a candidate to be part of Dream Week, and thank you again for this opportunity.
Thank you. Have great days. Enjoy the coolness of the outdoors. Love it. So have a good day.
Have a great day, Ann.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.